Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to all the participants, and I am glad that I have been given this opportunity again by the IoT Academy to have a session like this. Uh, this is very significant for all the participants in this. We are all academic people. We are all teaching, and we are interacting with students on a regular basis. And what we need to understand is what exactly is the process of teaching. What is teaching? How is it significant? Teaching becomes meaningful only when we are able to transfer the knowledge that we have to the student. So for doing this, there are lots of scientific methods and practices. So in this session, I am going to touch upon various practices and various designs or logic which has been developed to help you become a better teacher. In the process, you can also note down your thoughts and you can share with me so that I can also learn a few interesting pointers from all the respected faculty members who are part of this audience. Can we move on, ma'am? Yeah. So for this session, as I said, we have to have some purpose. The objectives of this session are very simple. We'll understand various terms and concepts of the teaching pedagogy and its significance. We'll also understand what are the different learning styles and what different teaching strategies or methodologies can be adopted. We'll try and practice some approaches of teaching pedagogy, and I'll also elaborate on teaching learning methodologies so that at the end of it, participants will be able to, try it out in their classrooms. How effective you will be is not something which I am going to tell you, but you will definitely learn. And if you apply some of these points, it will make your sessions more interesting and more engaging. So your knowledge transfer will be much more practical. Can we move on, ma'am? Yeah. So now I can see that we have about 23 odd participants. So uh, in the slide, you can see there are three pictures. So can anyone, please tell me what you understand by this slide? The three pictures, what do they stand for? You can put your thoughts in the chat box. Anyone? Whatever comes to your mind seeing the three pictures, please put down on the chat box. Yeah, Saundarya has put pedagogy. Okay. Anyone else? I'll give a minute more for some more responses. I'm waiting. Saundarya, madam, what do you understand by pedagogy? That question is open to others also. What do you understand by pedagogy? Okay, somebody has put levels of teaching, childhood understanding learning. Okay, yes, that is interesting answer. Anyway, let's continue. Deepthi, as you have mentioned, yes, it is childhood learning. In this slide, if you can see the pictures, what I want to signify here is pedagogy means teaching children, and the second picture is that of an artistic picture, and the third one is science. So, what I want to indicate here is pedagogy is the art and science of teaching children. However, let us understand that most of us are in colleges and universities. We are not going to be teaching children, though their maturity levels are not very high. We are still going to be teaching adults who are around 18 to 20 years age group. So how is it different when you are teaching adults? You can see there is a definition mentioned there that a tutor must elicit response from the audience which demonstrates understanding. Understanding can only happen when there is a transfer of the knowledge from one side to other. So to be able to achieve knowledge transfer and get the response that your content has been understood, you have to follow both some artistic practices as well as some logical and scientific methods to apply in your daily teaching sessions. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah. So what is the art? Art is correctly putting the theories into practice and building the teaching experiences that you have. See, in the today's date, most of the teachers are not just, teaching from textbooks. It is highly outdated. Students find that very boring. They will not listen to you if you are only talking what is there in the textbook. There is a need for the teacher to bring their real life experiences into the classroom. Today, it's said that you can even bring in your research into the classroom. If you are a researcher, there is a no better place than sharing your research and its values into the classroom. So, putting these theories and building on your experiences is the art. And having knowledge of these theories and the strategies which you need to put to bring this into the class in the right manner is the science. So, pedagogy is shaped by the teaching beliefs. What beliefs you have, what thought processes you have, it is based on that, and it relates the interplay between the culture and a variety of methods of teaching. Can we move to the next slide, ma'am? Yeah. So you all can see there is a question which is put on the slide. I want all the participants to respond to it in the chat box, please. And you can also please mention why. Please reflect, think. You have spent so many years in school, college. If you have had a teacher who has inspired you, then just mention the name of the teacher and why you were inspired by that person. So can I have the responses in the chat box, please? Yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah, the way he gives real-time examples. Excellent. Anybody else? Thank you, Usha. It's a very, important thing what you have mentioned there. Yes, Deepthi has also mentioned something like simplifying English language learning for motivating us for learning. Okay. Anybody else? I need the audiences to be interactive and responsive a little faster because we have to complete the whole presentation in the time given. So I think I'll move on. You can see here this slide. The picture itself is very indicative, where the word teach, when you invert the image, it reflects as learn. So interestingly, it is a correlated process for learning to happen, and there has to be some teaching, and for teaching to be happening successfully there has to be some learning. So one is devoid if the other is absent. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah. So here you see I have put a thought here which tells you about the traits of a teacher, the capability or the way the teacher is perceived by the audience. So a teacher who tells what is already known in different points as a textbook is an average teacher. A good teacher can add value to the one who is telling by giving explanations and examples. You gave the example of Mr. Nageshwar. He would definitely be a good teacher. The next level is a superior teacher who comes with some interesting, things which he can demonstrate in the class, which he can actually live and role play for the audience, where the audience participates. It's more like a participative learning session. So if you can demonstrate the topic in a practical manner, understanding is much higher. And the best teachers are those who are able to inspire the entire class. They actually are very good leaders. These leaders have a lot of charisma, and when they talk, people just listen. And they say something, you just want to do what that person has. You want to be like that person. So if you want to be a great teacher, you need to move from the average to the good to the superior to the best. And remember one thing, this is a famous quote which has been put by Bruce Lee. A teacher is not a person who gives you facts or truth. He is just a guide. He points you in the right direction, and each student must find the truth or fact for yourself. Interestingly, what each student finds out will be different based on the time, location, and situation in which the student remains. So, what is true for me need not be true for the entire class. So, we have to understand this, and that is why, as I said, if you can be an inspirational teacher, you can help achieve more from all the students, reaching their points of truth at the time of the class. Can we move on, ma'am? Next slide. Now, let us quickly understand some of the things. We have talked about what are the objectives of this session, what we are going to do, what is interesting in this, why it is to be done. What is the need for pedagogy? Is there any particular necessity to follow something? Yes, there is. And it has been scientifically proved that using the right kind of pedagogy can help in the following manner. It's an improved quality of learning. Students are more engaged and receptive. They are, more attentive. They are more focused. They participate in the session. They ask questions. They discuss. The knowledge is disseminated amongst the students more effectively, because if you adopt the right pedagogy, different types of learners get involved in the process. There is a development of higher level cognitive skills among the learners or the students. So for all this to happen, the right pedagogy has to be adopted, or the right science has to be used. Uh, Move on, ma'am. Next slide. Yeah. So you see, the classrooms will be more participative. The learning outcomes will be better. You mean, if you are looking at results, I think if you were having results in the range of 70 to 80, using right pedagogy can increase it by another 10 to 15%, and you will have students at the top level, 85, 90 onwards. Engagement of the students will be very high. They will be keen and interested to participate. There will be knowledge creation in the classroom, not just knowledge dissemination, but knowledge creation. And when you are able to achieve that, you will definitely have a lot of satisfaction in the effort that you have put. Next slide. So please read these points. It improves the quality of teaching. What I have already conveyed in the earlier slide, I am just summing it up here. So the students' participation, teaching learning process is also enhanced, and appropriate pedagogy helps impart education to students with different learning styles and abilities. If any student is not a audio learner, not a visual learner, but still your style can, your teaching pedagogy is a mix, then it can reach out to these people. Next slide, please. Yeah. So a thoughtfully developed pedagogy will, include a variety of teaching methods for the same session, which encourages participation from students from different groups, whether they are, economically challenged, physically challenged, or any other sort of culture or community. This pedagogy will break through all these divides and help you to connect with the students. Your students will develop higher level cognitive skills. They will be able to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate the content. Though you can understand that, having a knowledge about a particular subject, understanding the subject, and application of this knowledge, these are all lower order skills as per the Bloom's taxonomy. And we need to focus on generating higher order thinking in educations of, higher learning. The higher order thinking includes analyzing, evaluating, and creating new knowledge. It should not be limited to just, listening, understanding, and application of skills. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I think all of you must be aware of the Bloom's taxonomy. So you see here, when a student is asked to remember things, recall the facts, and um, just think back, what was the name of the king who ruled at this time. So this kind of facts, what did this thing happen, all these kinds of questions are the base level concepts. Above these level is the next one, that is understanding. Students are able to understand, why certain things happened, what was the reasons behind it. Like when you have two salts, or an acid and a base, when they react, they provide or they convert into salt and water. So why it happens, understanding the process is the next level. Applying this knowledge to real time problems is the third level. So I have a problem with there is a water scaling in my vessel. So how do I work about that? Okay. So somewhere, my knowledge of chemistry comes into my mind. I say that this water scaling is because of some hydroxide formation on the vessel. Let me apply some acid and clean. On application of acid, the hydroxide which is present in the form of scales will combine with the acid, and I'll get some salt and water. The salt will dissolve and clean the vessel, and the vessel will be clean. So this kind of ability to apply such knowledge which you have gained, it is the third level. But these three are the lower level skills. We need to encourage students to be at the top three level, that is analyze, evaluate, and create. So the students should be in a position where they are having multiple ideas, and out of that they analyze and they find out which is the best one. Also be able to explain why it is the best one. When they are able to analyze and evaluate why some idea is good, why they should not choose this, why they should do that, their engagement levels are much more higher. And finally, when they utilize their knowledge of analyzing, evaluating, and go ahead to create something new, there is no higher level of satisfaction and involvement than this particular step. So as faculty members, your role is to push your students to move through the higher order, to move into analyzing, evaluating, and creating new knowledge in your classroom. And we'll very quickly look at, what are the different things that can be done to reach to that level. Next slide, ma'am. Now let us quickly understand what are the different factors that affect teaching pedagogy. Number one, learning style of student. I already said this before that every student is different and they learn in a different manner. They come from different backgrounds, they have different preferences, and they have different practices. So you cannot treat them all as the same. The second factor is the competence of the instructor. How clear the instructor or the faculty himself or herself is with the content. If the faculty is not very clear on certain areas, their weakness will also show through. So you need to have a thorough knowledge before entering the classroom. What other resources are available? If I have only a blackboard, I can only do so much. If I have a PowerPoint presentation, I can take my class to a different level. If I have internet connectivity and I can engage students with using different gamifications and other resources, my class can be more engaging. So all these factors depend. The educational system also gives an important role here, because you are forced to teach what the system asks you to. You cannot teach whatever you want to. And the field of study, obviously, because there are certain fields of study where there is less option to be creative, and there are certain fields of study where you can be very creative and innovative in your pedagogy choices. So we'll look at these points in a little bit more detail in the coming slides. Can we move on, ma'am? Next slide, please. Yeah, I would strongly, request all the participants here to focus on the first 2 points. Know your learners and what is their learning type. So there are broadly 4 to 5 different kinds of learners. There's a visual learner, there's an auditory learner, person who learns by read and write, and a kinesthetic learner who learns by doing. There is a link which I have shared at the bottom of the slide. This is a link which leads you to a site where you can answer a simple 20 questions and understand what kind of learner you are. You can ask your students to also take the test, and you can have the results and understand what type of learner your students are in a broad level. Of course, most of them would be a mixed type, but still, if you find that you have a class which has got 80% of visual learners, you can adopt your teaching pedagogy in the fashion that suits the majority of the audience, also keeping some incentive for the other people. Next slide, please. Yeah. So you see, these are the different learning styles which you can come across. A visual learner who prefers to see and learn, a musical or auditory learner who learns when he hears or listens, a verbal learner using both words in speech and writing, a kinesthetic or a physical learner who prefer to use hands, touch, and they are more doers. There are students who learn by logic. There are students who learn in groups. Individually, they get bored. And there are other side who learn alone. Next. So again, I am not going to go into a lot of depth in these areas. These are the different learning theories which are very much relevant in the field today. Theory of behaviorism, which is having concept of direct instruction, programmed or social learning theory. The theory of cognitivism, which moves into attribution, elaboration, cognitive development, and conditioning of learning. The theory of humanism, which is experiential learning, where you learn by doing, and the theory of constructivism, which has a mix of social development, case-based learning, cognitive apprenticeship, discovery, problem solving, situation-based activity theory, or actor network theory. Role play and other things are part of this method. Uh, Move on, ma'am. Next slide. Yeah. See, for those of you who are more interested in knowing all these different learning theories, I am put here the broad theories and the key authors. So you can search for their work on the particular subject and you will get some information. I have just put this slide for you all to understand what are the key concepts. For example, for behaviorism, it is response to stimuli or observable behavior. For constructivism, the key concept is an active process where knowledge is constructed on existing knowledge. So likewise, each of these theories have a particular focus point based on which the key theory has been proposed, and it also tells you, if you are using a particular theory as a teacher, what kind of role you need to adopt yourself. If you're able to get this, then we can move on to the next slide. Yeah. So as I said, the teaching pedagogy has got multiple approaches: constructivist approach, a collaborative approach, a reflective approach, an inquiry based, and integrative. Constructivist, where you build on existing knowledge, construct one on top of the other. Collaborative, where you join hands with two more components and gather the knowledge. Reflective, where you think about and let your mind do the work. Inquiry based means where you put a trial and error. You ask questions, you try to get the answers, and keep on asking questions till you reach some level. Last being integrative, which integrates any of the two or more different approaches to finally achieve a acceptable goal. Next slide, ma'am. So you can see what happens in each of these approaches. So in constructive approach, it is student centered, builds on the past knowledge and learning by doing, but it may be relatively slow. Reflective, the assessment of pedagogical practices, model approach for the trainee, and it's outcome based. You need to keep reassessing your learning objectives. Likewise, when you look at an inquiry based approach, it is student centered, it excites curiosity, enhances problem solving skills, and which can be of four types, confirmation, where you have a answer already and they confirm that answer, or they build on the structure, or it could be guided, where you guide them from one step to another, or it could be open. So these, I am not discussing all these in details, but it's just to get you an idea of the different approaches. Can we move on, ma'am? Next slide. Yeah, these are some content which you can read and learn more about the teaching learning pedagogy. So I have given you some choices. There may be more, but these are quite interesting, which I have found. Next. Yeah. So again, I am sharing with you some strategies of collaborative learning. So collaborative learning can be like team-based learning, where a team starts working together. You can have a think, pair, and share. Couple of people are paired together. Let them think and share their views, and rest all catch up. The catch up process is when activities are given and each person comes out with their. It can be a case study. It can be a fishbowl debate. Next. Yeah. Please look at this slide very carefully. When I see here at the top of the triangle, when the lesson is a lecture, the retention is just 5%. When it is reading, 10%. Audiovisual, the learning is about 20%. When there is a demonstration, the learning is about 30. When there is a discussion, the knowledge transfer is about 50. When you practice doing, it's about 75. And when you teach others, there is a 90% retention. So ideally, from demonstration till the teaching others, these are all um, active learning process. Demonstration to lecture is a passive learning process where the teacher is actually performing, Students are observing. When you involve the students in the work, when they become active, their retention and knowledge transfer is much higher. So please try to, include a lot of active learning methods in your regular day-to-day teaching. Let students lead the sessions, let them have discussions, let them have a case study and let them practice doing it. Give them assignments, let them do and come and discuss that what problems they face. They can be there, you can be there to guide them. Don't go into the passive learning because that will only help you to learn. The students will remain where they are. Next slide, ma'am. So traditionally, teachers needed to have some pedagogical skills which included communication. They needed to be adaptable to the situation. There was a collaborative skill required. They needed to be able to be inclusive with different kinds of mindsets. They need to have compassion. But today, the technology has advanced so much that it is very much necessary for teachers to have a lot of other skills like organization, tolerance, storytelling, be ready to face questions, preparation, commitment, be innovative, be social, be technology, ready with technology and be a geek because that is what the current generation is talking. You have to understand their language, you have to understand their way of working and, you know, be a part of that. Otherwise, you will not be a successful teacher in the present day. Next. Now, question can be that how do you improve your pedagogical skills? You have to do it by reviewing your student evaluations. What you have done, you review. Is there any way you can help the student to improve? You discuss the pedagogical skills with your colleagues. If your college or university is not helping you, please ask them to give you sessions on teaching and learning. Attend conferences and webinars like this, training sessions like what I am conducting, so you can also know what is happening in the world around you. On the private side, you can look up at different studies on teaching learning pedagogy. You can ask for additional training and keep updated with new technology and gadgets. Next. How do you use these skills? You be a proactive communicator. Don't hesitate. Speak. Try out different teaching styles. Don't try all together. Try one by one. But over a period of time, develop in such a way that your class, one session of about 40-45 minutes or an hour, has at least 3 or 4 different teaching styles included. As I said, make it more participative. Let the student design the assignment. Let them conduct it. Make your classrooms very inclusive. Let them be part of the class, not just as spectators, but as participants. Give them enough space. Let them talk. Let them lead the sessions. You identify the different traits of the students, and as I said, be like a light in the tunnel. Student is only requiring the light to see the road. Don't walk the student from one end of the tunnel to the other. Let them find their own path. You be the guiding light. Facilitate learning. Next. I'm just sharing a few of the innovative teaching methods. These are not, exhaustive. There can be many more. Project-based learning, flipped classrooms is becoming quite fashionable these days. You can use crosswords, quizzes, MCQs, use the different technical platforms. You can generate quizzes on Quizzeria, Google Forms, and so on. experiential learning or experimentation learning, activity based, simulation based learning, virtual labs, and blended learning. All these are open to you. You can try out any of the time, but I would just give you a warning here is that first try and practice yourself once before you put it in the classroom, because if you are not doing it in the right manner, the entire session can become a mockery of the whole thing that you're trying to do. So don't get caught into some thing. First practice, gain confidence, approach, and apply. Next. So this is the delivery process. Set learning objectives, give the instruction, also identify self-learning points, conduct the learning activities, interactions, and exercise, evaluate against your objective, and restart the entire process. You can do this for each chapter, for each credit, or for the entire course as your system permits. Please, next. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, I am coming almost to the close of my presentation, so I am just going to, share some things. There are some noteworthy points. Your sessions must always have icebreakers to break the, bridge with the students. I share with you a method called WIN. What, interest, and need. Even in this session, if you have seen, initially we had what? The objectives of this session. Interest, I share to you why you need to do it. The need, again, I am telling you, you will have a personal need and a professional need. Until and unless you can explain these three things to the student, they will not, be really keen to learn. So you must be very clear what you want to tell them. What is the interest for the student in knowing that? So you put some story or something interesting in that point, and the need has to be both a professional need as well as a personal need. Your delivery needs to be structured and planned. Break it into steps, easy to identify. Reinforce these steps. You simulate the student, you engage with them, you evaluate, and you summarize. Next, some tips for keeping your classrooms active. Keep your energy levels high. Don't be predictable. Don't do different things, but do things differently. Be innovative and creative. Involve the students. Let them lead the sessions. Next, be yourself. Don't try to imitate anybody. Be honest. Be passionate. Understand your limitations and work according to that. Learn from students. Acknowledge their achievements. Keep yourself updated. Keep doing research. Prepare for each session as though it is the first time you are going for that. Expect unexpected things to happen. Then you will be able to tide over the session well. So, any questions? I think I am done from my side. So, participants, you can either unmute and speak or put the questions in the chat box. I will try to answer to the best I can. PPT copy will come into the YouTube. I think this whole presentation will be there. You will get it.